The big question here tonight at Heinz Field, will Big Ben strike midnight on a Hall of Fame career?
And your quarterback from Miami, Ohio, Ben Roethlisberger.
Big Ben out of the tunnel.
Wow.
For likely the last time at Heinz Field.
First and goal. Ben, quick throw. Deontay Johnson, touchdown, Steelers.
Boy, that's just a nice pass. Ben Roethlisberger and the King just scores another TD.
Oof. There's TJ Watt, and there's sack number 4 for Watt. Najee Harris to the end zone. Touchdown, Steelers. And Ben, it's all yours.
These are the best fans in sports, the best place to play. So I'm at a loss for words. I'm just so thankful for these fans in this place. There's no place like it. I'm glad I got to do it one last time.
That's the way to work. Come on. He's hit that sack. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. It was a must-win game between two bitter rivals that created a truly rare environment. It was an atmosphere that's typically reserved for playoff football, but for the nearly 64,000 people in attendance, it was much more than a do-or-die game. It was a chance to give a final goodbye to the man who quarterbacked their beloved Steelers to 91 prior regular season wins at Heinz Field. For more on the emotional Monday night victory, let's say hello to Bob Pompeani, who's with Coach Tomlin. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. As we take a look back, and I guess, you know, Coach, there was a song that said, "Oh, what a night," and I would leave it at that. Oh, what a night. Monday night in Pittsburgh. You guys get a big win, and Ben Roethlisberger gets a chance to have a victory formation. I don't think he could have scripted it any better.
I tell you, Monday night at Heinz Field is always special. I've been in a lot of them over the years, and just the atmosphere that Steeler Nation brings energizes us. We feed off of it. But last Monday night was truly special, and for all the right reasons. Honoring a guy who has given everything to this organization and our fan base for 18 years, and it was cool to be a part of. Obviously, we're really excited it unfolded in the manner in which it did. We needed a victory in the worst way, and to be able to deliver that for him in the manner in which we did, and we're able to honor him and him to be able to interact with the fans in the way that he desired to show his appreciation. I just thought wrap the bow around it all.
You mentioned the fans. You often talk about Steeler Nation and its importance. I mean, I've been through and heard a lot of crowds there. That crowd was, and from start to finish, especially at the end, was as loud as I think I've ever heard it.
It really was, particularly for a regular season game. You know, we played an AFC championship versus the Ravens years ago that was insane. But for a regular season game, no doubt, that atmosphere was second to none.
Well, the atmosphere was also, you know, in part produced by some tremendous play by your defense. 9 sacks, that's the most since, I think, 2001 as a group. What was the key in that game? TJ Watt went off, and I think it's safe to say that he should be the Defensive Player of the Year, but it wasn't just him, it was a lot of guys. What was the secret to that?
We had to minimize Nick Chubb first and foremost. We weren't going to get an opportunity to put our rush skills and our coverage skills on display unless that happened. And thankfully, we were able to do some of that. Found out after the game that maybe he was limited somewhat by an in-game injury. But we did what we needed to do to minimize his impact on the game. And once we were able to do that, then you know, we were kind of playing in our wheelhouse. I thought our coverage guys did an excellent job. I thought our rushers did an excellent job. I think collectively those two units survive and eat together, and you can't have one without the other. I thought we had really tight coverage. I thought we had a really good rush, and that's what's required when you're producing those type numbers.
Michael Strahan's record for sacks has been around for quite a long time, but it's potentially in jeopardy right now. Did you ever think that record could fall, and would it take somebody like a TJ Watt to do it?
It's probably been about 3 or 4 years now. I thought TJ was capable of it, to be quite honest with you. It's his sack rate, the rate of pressures relative to rush opportunities. His rush rate is ridiculously high. I don't study the analytics of it globally compared to others, but just watching and studying the tape and watching it and being on sidelines for all my adult life, basically, I just have never seen a sack rate as high as his. And so when you're disruptive as often as he is relative to rush opportunities, numbers are just things that come with it.
Aside from TJ, your defense generally did a very good job. You were minus some key people on the inside, and yet you limited that team, which prides itself on rushing the football, to 93 yards.
You know, I can't say enough about the efforts, but more than anything, I think we played a lot of people. And when you're playing subs at times, I think that's the best approach. You cast a big net. You allow guys to play snaps but not absorb too many snaps. And we got quality snaps by guys like Mon Adams, Henry Mondu, Loudermilk. Those guys really put their hand in the pile and did a great job of bridging the gap and giving us needed production.
Offensively, you did exactly what Cleveland wanted to do. That's run the ball down their throats. Najee Harris led the way, 188 yards, many of those yards after contact. You've had 16 games now to evaluate him. What is your take on your first-round pick from 1 year ago?
You know, he's a big-time back. And so, you know, our discussions need to move in the direction that are appropriate for someone of his talent level and what he's proven to be skill level. For instance, last week we talked a lot about when he's in the stadium with Nick Chubb, that he needs to outperform Nick Chubb. He needs to take that matchup, that head-to-head component of that matchup personally, in the way that two high-scoring basketball players might take a particular matchup, although they are not directly regarding one another, their impact on the game is felt. And so I'm starting to challenge him in ways like that. When he steps into a stadium versus Nick Chubb, he needs to get the better of Nick Chubb. When he steps into a stadium versus Joe Mixon, same thing. We got a couple top quality running backs from a global perspective right here in the North. And to be quite honest with you, when he steps into the stadium, he has to outperform them. He has the talent level that is his and our agenda. And so we got some work to do.
All right, so the Steelers come away with a big win, keep their playoff hopes alive, but Baltimore still has some hopes as well. When we come back, we'll talk about the matchup in the final week of the regular season, all coming up with head coach Mike Tomlin. Right now, Missy, let's send it back over to you.
All right, thanks, Bob. And after his career-high 4-sack performance on Monday night, TJ Watt just needs 1.5 more to break Hall of Famer Michael Strahan's single-season sack record of 22.5 that he set in 2001. Watt currently ranks third all-time in sacks through a player's first 5 seasons with 71. Only his brother JJ and Hall of Famer Reggie White have more. And by the way, both won Defensive Player of the Year at least once in their first 5 seasons. The 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will be right back.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. Are you 84 Lumber material? Visit 84lumber.com/careers to learn more.
When it's Steelers and Ravens, little else needs to be said. It's a series that many view as the preeminent NFL rivalry. It's a series that usually determines the winner of the AFC North, but this season, the Cincinnati Bengals took the division crown with a Week 17 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. There still, though, is a playoff berth at stake when these two teams square off for round 2. For more on the regular season finale, let's send it back over to Bob and Coach. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Still work to be done as the Steelers head to Baltimore for another AFC North matchup, and this is a big one. First off, Coach, let's talk about how you keep your team focused on what they have to do. This is the time of year where a lot of things have to happen for a lot of teams, and your team is right there with it in terms of needing some help. How much of a challenge is that as a head coach?
I think it's less of a challenge when you're playing the Baltimore Ravens and it's AFC North football and we have the shared history that we have together in terms of the matchup. There's enough in-stadium going on in Baltimore this weekend to keep our attention. Everybody understands what Steeler-Raven week means, and so it helps tune out some of the noise associated with where we are in this process. And when I say we, I mean all of us. The road is narrow. There are a limited number of spots and opportunities, and and we're still vying for one, but we're not vying unless we take care of the business that's in the stadium this week. And we have an understanding of that. And I think because our opponent is the Ravens, it makes it easier for us to remember that.
Tyler Huntley's done a pretty good job. What have you seen from him that impresses you?
I've been really impressed with his fluid decision-making in the passing game. He gets the ball out on rhythm. He reads secondaries very well for a guy with limited experience. If you look at his completion percentage, it really illustrates that. I spent some time early portion of the week studying his preseason this year when he was able to win the job from the former quarterback from Penn State that was on their roster. And I was wondering how he did it. And man, this guy completed over 70% of his passes in every outing he had in the preseason. He makes good and fluid decisions. The ball comes out of his hand on time, and I know that that's attractive from their perspective.
A game like this often comes down to matchups, schemes that you guys like to do and try to counter what Baltimore does. You have a guy you know very well in Alejandro Villanueva going up against T.J. Watt. Talk a little bit about that potential matchup.
Our ability to stop the run, their ability to run, or their plan regarding the run will really dictate the amount of exposure we get in some of those matchups, edge players versus tackles and so forth. We were able to minimize some of those peripheral variables last week and really turned it into a one-dimensional game, and that's why we were able to get 9 sacks or so. It'll be a tougher task to make the Baltimore Ravens one-dimensional, but that will be our intentions. We want to get them behind the chains. We want to let our edge players do what they do. We want to challenge Villanueva and company. We got a lot of respect for him and his cohorts, but that's how we eat, and I'm sure he understands that.
I know if they do want to throw the ball down the field, a guy who's really stepped up for you is Ahkello Witherspoon. He was, kind of a slow start getting here, getting acclimated, but boy, he seems to have really come on. What has been the difference with him?
Really it's just been opportunity for him. He's been very professional and detailed and hardworking since we acquired him. He got on a moving train, and oftentimes you got to wait your turn and wait for an opportunity. He wasn't a highly accomplished special teams player, so that made it more difficult for him to work his way through the ranks, if you will, because special teams is often the catalyst for guys rising up. He was a known commodity as a defender, and when we had an opportunity to get him in a helmet as a defender, I think Joe Hayden or somebody missed a game or two, that allowed him to get the footing and produce the plays that you see and allowed us to commit to him and giving him a helmet and having him be a part of our process, man. He's been highly productive and highly professional since the day we acquired him.
All right, it's going to be a very interesting game. A lot on the line tomorrow. You'll see it on KDK TV. We have more with head coach Mike Tomlin. The keys to the game are coming up. But right now, back over to Missy Matthews.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, the Steelers need to handle business inside M&T Bank Stadium tomorrow afternoon. But in order to secure a playoff berth, they're also going to need some help from Jacksonville. Indianapolis is clearly the favorite in that matchup, but if you think it's a guaranteed win, hold your horses because the Colts have not won there since 2014. When we return, Merril Hoge returns to his Factor Back studio to break down a few key plays from Ben Roethlisberger's emotional victory last Monday night. That and much more as the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show continues right after the break.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
The workload that Najee Harris has handled this season is right at the top of the list of ball carriers in recent years. The rookie running back trails only Christian McCaffrey in playing time in a single season during the next-gen stats era. And on Monday night, he passed Franco Harris for the Steelers' rookie rushing record. Merril Hoge is in his Factor Back studio to talk about Harris's big night, how the offensive line helped him in this week's playbook.
The defense played off the hook. They were absolutely incredible. T.J. Watt, obviously, big-time chance to win the sack record. But the area we're going to start is an area and a group of 5 guys, I won't say extended players, that have taken a lot of heat for not blocking very consistently. They were outstanding, the offensive line, including the tight ends and wide receivers, at getting Najee running lanes. But the offensive line really had a big day. They were outstanding at making adjustments at the snap of the ball. And here's what I'm talking about. We're just going to look at this run from all 22. This is an 8-yard run. An 8-yard run in the National Football League is a big run. Now, from the end zone, this is why I always like to look at the end zone, because you get to see the details of the play. So let's walk through the blocking assignments, where everybody is going to go initially, if everybody stays in place in Cleveland. So let's look at the Browns line, Freiermuth. Here's his responsibility. He's going to get the stack linebacker. Turner, he's going to come work out here. Okorafor out here. Then they're going to get a double here and work up to this linebacker. Najee, point of attack, I trust the double team. So he's going to hug the double team. That's technically how this is supposed to be blocked. This is where they become brilliant. And just to add, so we don't forget everything, the tackle works out here. So everybody's accounted for if they stay there. So here's what happens. At the snap of the ball, what happens right away? Well, the Browns attack it. They do a run blitz. First, let's start with Turner. Unbelievable. He's supposed to block here, right? Well, who's going to blow this play up if nobody blocks him? That's right, the linebacker. Well, Turner, beautiful job of working out here. Okay, they let the tackle go, but now it's about the runner getting the ball and trying to beat that guy, which he will. But now let's go to Freiermuth. His linebacker's gone. He doesn't just stand there. He doesn't just stand at the line of scrimmage. He keeps working over to here. Now, Hassenauer, what a beautiful job here. He comes to help here. He peeks over here and realizes Turner might need a little help. So he gets that help here, but then watch him work to here. He does a beautiful job of helping, then getting to the linebacker he's responsible for. Now this is absolutely incredible here. Freiermuth is like, well, wait a minute. Now I have nobody. He doesn't just stand there because that's deadly in the running game. You do that, he's going to be right in the way. Watch what he does. Just a beautiful job of working back and looking for work, looking for somebody, and you have everybody accounted for. So they've adjusted at the snap of the ball when Cleveland is trying to disrupt the blocking scheme. And then Najee, what a beautiful job here of breaking tackles and getting extra yards. Those chunks of yards, the way they blocked up front all night, end up being a big night and set the foundational attack for this offense. Now let's get to number 7. I think we know there's some signature things about Ben. One of the most physical quarterbacks to ever play in the history of the game. His pump is his signature. Nobody's ever done it like this. But I want to show you what effect it has on the defense when he pumps. Too many times we get caught up in just watching the pump, which we're going to see it here from the All-22. Watch this. I mean, he completely throws his whole motion. It's not a little hitch. It's a complete motion. When he does that, everybody marvels at it. It's incredible. He checks the ball down to Najee. They get a first down. Let's go to the end zone. Let's look at the reaction and the effect it has on the defense when he does that. All we're going to do, we're going to have a little fun here. Watch this linebacker. Watch what happens when he sees Ben go and pump the ball. This is absolutely incredible. All right, now Ben's about ready to throw it. Bam. Watch this. Look at his head. He's already turned it. He's going. Ben's already got the ball back here. Okay, that ball didn't go anywhere. But watch the reaction. He's like, oh, well, that frees up Najee in order to get the first down. The reaction that pump has had in the history of his career has been incredible.
For more excellent insight from Merril Hoge, just head over to the Steelers YouTube page to catch all of this year's playbooks. Well, it's the regular season finale, and there is a chance of a playoff berth on the line. It's Steelers and Ravens Part 2. It is sure to be a playoff environment tomorrow at M&T Bank Stadium. It's time now for our keys to the game, presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Let's check in one final time with Bob and Coach. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. You know, you talk about keys, it always comes down to trench play. And last week, Coach, you had an opportunity to outplay Cleveland on both sides of the ball. You talked last week about Simo, your new offensive line coach, at least for now, and what he's able to do, how to evaluate him. Your guys, with a bunch of backups, seem to do a very good job on that offensive line. How important is that moving forward in this game?
It's huge. We were able to gain enough cohesion to find our rhythm, to get Najee to the line of scrimmage beyond, and then obviously he utilized his talents in some physical matchups against some of their defensive backs to produce the day that we had. Simo was critical in terms of developing that plan and needed another good plan this week. It's going to be a critical component of the game. But also we got to acknowledge that we're playing the Baltimore Ravens. They're number 1 in the league versus the run. They have a strong commitment there. They're also 32nd in the league versus the pass. And so, that cornerback wide receiver matchup that is seemingly always significant when we play these guys will be again in this game. Our ability to get Deontay and Chase and James and others matched up one-on-one with their perimeter people is going to be a critical component of our success. That's how they play football. That's how they choose to play football. And so if things are going to unfold our way, we're going to need some chunks in the passing game as well.
It's interesting, and it's sort of typical of the NFL these days. Baltimore at Week 12 was the number 1 seed in the conference, 8-3, and they've lost 5 in a row. But man, all of those games have been tough. They've come down to like the last possession of the game. It's just kind of that fine line that you often talk about.
Man, I love it, to be quite honest with you, man. It's the ultimate parity league. It's the ultimate team game. Couple that with some of the challenges of the global pandemic in terms of player availability or lack thereof. It really challenges leadership and planning and depth and the development of that depth. All the things that are awesome about football. And so we lean in on this week with that understanding and that respect for this process. And I'm sure others have gained some of that respect as well throughout this journey.
All right, got a couple of good kickers too. Often these games come down to the final one, and 2 of the best in the league will be on display. Coach, thanks very much. Appreciate the time and good luck in Baltimore.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for our program today. So it's the Steelers, it's the Ravens. We get you set tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. on KDK. You'll follow the NFL today with the kickoff and then 2 hours of postgame afterwards on Pittsburgh CW. We have a lot going on for this game, Week 18 of the NFL season. That's going to do it for head coach Mike Tomlin and Missy Matthews. I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a good game day tomorrow on KDKA.